Well, hey everybody, I'm Rebecca and welcome to another Exploring Atlanta video. I hope that you are doing well. And in closing out our celebration of Black History Month, I'm going to be exploring the National Center for Civil and Human Rights downtown. It has been newly expanded, over 28,000 square feet. They have an east and west wing that is new, so we're going to be exploring that. Now, this is a museum and cultural organization that inspires like the change maker in all of us, and you're going to see that theme throughout as we take the tour. Now, the museum opened in 2014 as a way of connecting U.S. civil rights history with human global movements of today. It highlights the experience of people who have worked to protect rights and who model how individuals create positive change. Before we jump into the video, I want to welcome those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and I want to give a big shout out to the returning subscribers who support the channel week in and week out. I really appreciate you more than you know. Now, if you are enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel because it does help to grow and bring more videos like this, and it doesn't cost you anything. So put your walking shoes on, let's hit these streets, and I'll be back later to close us out. Okay, so I am here at the National Center for Civil and Human Rights, and I'm just going to pan around for you. I'm just going to include an insert so that you can see what it looked like before the expansion. Now, this initiative did raise over $57.9 million for this 24,000 square foot expansion capital campaign. And you see there the Coca-Cola, World of Coca-Cola Museum there. The project added 2 new east and west wings, including new exhibits, classrooms, a new children's gallery, as well as a cafe. Here you see the Georgia Aquarium as we pan around here. Now, this building initiative raised over $52 million through a mix of private donations, including $17 million from the Arthur Blank Family Foundation, $8.5 million from the Robert Woodruff Foundation, $10 million from the City of Atlanta, $5 million from the Wilbur and Hilda Glenn Family Foundation. You had companies such as Georgia Pacific. They provided $1 million along with in-kind support, with additional backing from Coca-Cola, AT&T, Delta Airlines, and other companies. The center was closed for expansion in January of 2025. It reopened on November the 8th of 2025. As an incentive to attract corporate and individual donors, you're going to notice that the center offered naming rights for these new galleries and exhibits. Now let's just go ahead and begin our tour. We step into the atrium. On the right wall, that large mural connects the various movements and highlights them as part of an evolving struggle to protect the human rights of all. And I'll give you a better view. And this post gives you a layout of the museum, and we're going to start here on the first level where we have the Civil Rights Gallery, King Gallery, Family Gallery, the cafe and gift shop. Alright, the first exhibit we're going to explore is the Rolls Down Like a River. It is a powerful and often painful journey of the American Civil Rights Movement from the early 20th century in the segregated South to the rise of Black Power and the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It centers around the voices, struggles, and triumphs of Black Americans who challenged Jim Crow segregation and demanded a more just nation. This exhibit pays tribute to the resilience of everyday people and iconic leaders alike. It highlights Atlanta's pivotal role as a cradle of activism, elevates the leadership of women in the movement, and explores how the Black Power era reshaped culture and consciousness. Rolls Down Like a River is more than just a history lesson. It is a call to memory, reflection, and continued commitment to justice. With that in mind, let's step inside. All right, so we are going to start here with the Jim Crow era, which ran from the 1880s through the 1960s. And the Jim Crow era was a period of systemic racial segregation and discrimination in America, primarily in the South. It was enforced by state and local laws to maintain white supremacy. Now, this gallery in front of me is part of the expansion. This wasn't here before. Atlanta Civil Rights Legacy. You discover how leaders built national monuments for change and made Atlanta a hub for organizing and resistance. And you see colors only, whites only, and then you have the segregationists. And here we see the Board of Education, or the Brown versus Board of Education. This was a 1954 milestone decision by the Supreme Court that ruled that separating children in public schools based upon race was unconstitutional. So that's what these displays are right here. And you have Emmett Till, who was the 14-year-old who was abducted and lynched in Mississippi in 1955 after being accused of making inappropriate advances towards a white woman, which turned out to be not so, as she stated in her later memoir. To the right is the Freedom Riders bus. Here you can experience the lunch counter sit-ins in Greensboro. And let's turn back around here to the Freedom Riders. Journey with the Freedom Riders here. You can learn more about the Freedom Riders experience by watching these video testimonies here. And I actually sat down and experienced this simulation of the lunch counter experience, and it's pretty graphic. It's pretty graphic and pretty gruesome. This gallery represents the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, where we have Dr. King's famous Let Freedom Ring speech on August the 28th, 1963 at the Lincoln Memorial, facing a crowd of 250,000 people. Throughout these exhibits and galleries, you will find interactive displays where you can engage with touch screens, video testimonies, and archival media to explore the movement's stories, leaders, and music. So here we enter the Cultural Revolution through Black Power, and you'll see there on the left the 1963 bombing of Birmingham Church by the KKK that claimed the lives of 4 African American girls. The Cultural Revolution through Black Power was an experience. You can experience the music, fashion, art, and language that gave voice to a new generation's fight for liberation. Women of the movement uncover the vital but often overlooked contributions of women as strategists, protectors, and visionaries of change. And here, of course, Dr. King was assassinated on the 4th of April 1968. And this is a gallery of Dr. King's funeral, brought vividly to life with soundscapes and visuals. And we see a photo there with Jesse Jackson, who passed away yesterday at the age of 84. And you have the TV screens here, recreation or recreation of broadcast by Walter Cronkite and also Bobby Kennedy. And here we have Dr. King lying in state. Funeral at Ebenezer Baptist Church. Church bench. And these were all people fighting for freedom, ordinary as well as the iconic figures for equal rights. And this is a display of the men, women, and children who sacrificed their lives for the cause of freedom, and cost. And as I zoom in here, you can see the various names. Some of them were lynched, some of them were killed by the Klan, by the police during marches. And there's a notebook there below that tells their stories. And this lady was killed by police, I believe, during the Selma March. They're in all colors and races. They paid the ultimate sacrifice, the ultimate price for freedom. For the cause of freedom. No photography allowed in the Morehouse College King collection, but very informative. And from here, we will just make our way back to the front exit. And what I love about this expansion, the renovations that were done inside, is that it's lighter. When I came before, one thing I remember is that it was just too dark. So I'm really glad that they upgraded the lighting in these galleries. I'm just going to allow you to quietly take in these galleries as we make our way toward the exit. All right, I hope that you enjoyed the first level exhibits. We are making our way to the second level here. I believe there are 3 or 4 exhibits that we're going to explore briefly as we enter. To the far left, we have the Reconstruction Era. We'll come back to that. I think we're going to start with this Everyone Everywhere exhibit, Global Human Rights Gallery, presented by Wilbur and Hilda Glenn Family Foundation. All right, as we step inside here, the Human Rights Gallery reminds us that the struggle for dignity and justice transcends borders. This gallery highlights urgent human rights issues and celebrates the courage of defenders around the world, individuals who confront oppression and inspire change in their very own communities. The experience invites visitors to step inside a global story of resilience, linking the lessons of the past to the challenges of today. By showcasing victories for human rights achieved by people across the globe, the gallery underscores that the fight for justice is universal and that each of us has a role to play in advancing it. You see a proof of progress there. And this is an interesting installation here. Is called A Mile in My Shoes. And here is where you select a pair of shoes and walk while listening to the personal story of the individual who wore them. Not to worry, these shoes are sanitized after every use, or you can choose to wear socks. But this is an interesting installation here. I did not take the time to experience it. Maybe the next time. And we also have the ethical footprint wall as we span around here, where you discover the human rights stories behind every product and the power that you have as a consumer. Voting equals power. Future feed. You have the stories of courage, where you get to encounter first-hand accounts of resilience and resistance from human rights defenders. There's also One Planet, One Family, where you experience an immersive film that invites you to see the world as a shared human community where we are responsible for each other. All right. All right, so we are going to move on to the Action Lab. And the Action Lab is a space for reflection, discovery, and next steps. Here, visitors can identify their personal approach to change making, connect their passions to real-world issues, and explore tangible ways to take action. Whether you're just getting started or looking to deepen your impact, the Action Lab invites you to move from awareness to engagement with tools, stories, and pathways grounded in purpose. You see the passion wall there, where you reflect on issues that matters most to you. Add your voice to a collective wall of commitments from visitors who care and are ready to act. Start meaningful conversations by spinning the conversation wheel and spark dialogue on topics that matter. Whether with a friend or a stranger, every conversation is a step toward connection and understanding. Explore practical tactics by engaging with 6 core strategies for creating change. From protest to policy, find the approaches that align with your values and capacity. Discover your change maker type. Take a short quiz to identify your unique style of change making. Learn how your strengths can support justice, equality, and community impact. All right, we are moving on to special exhibitions. Let's take a look inside here. Reclaiming History is selections from the Tenwood Foundation collection. Reclaiming History presents powerful works by Black Southern artists emerged in the late 1980s, carrying the energy of the civil rights movement into a new era. These artists are out of Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, and Mississippi. They are painters, sculptors, and mixed media artists who use their craft to confront police brutality, photo suppression, and the lingering machinery of Jim Crow. Some of these works speak directly, naming injustice with bold clarity. Others are encoded with meaning into abstract forms, textures, and symbols, layering survival strategies into visual language. Together, these artists transformed everyday materials into tools for truth-telling, resistance, and community healing. Rooted in the South's legacy of resilience, the collection highlights how art becomes both witness and catalyst in the ongoing struggle for justice. Reclaiming History invites us to experience the creativity, courage, and vision of artists whose work continues to shape cultural and social justice movements today. I think I have a name of the artists who contributed this. Featured artists include Mary Lee Bendoff, Hawkins Bowden, Archie Byron, Thornton Dahl Sr., Lonnie Holly, Joe Light, Ronald Lockett, Joe Mentor, Mincy Lee Petway, and Mary T. Smith. And I believe that depicts a carriage carrying Dr. Martin Luther King's body in the middle there. And here we have some shoes that look like they have been worn. Not only worn, but look like they've been left out in the rain for a while. I don't know what that represents. You have to read those signs there. And I believe this display in the middle, it depicts the transatlantic slave ship. So there you have it, reclaiming history. From here, we embark upon the Reconstruction Era, the period of American history immediately following the Civil War, lasting from 1865 to 1877. It was during Reconstruction that a century-long era of racial hierarchy, lynching, white supremacy, and bigotry was established. This looks like a wall of events from the 1860s Civil War through the present day. And in this exhibition, you will experience immersive storytelling that follows the unfolding story of Reconstruction and the forces that unraveled it. Interesting art piece by Thornton Dowell Sr. You'll experience systemic injustice by learning about oppressive systems including voter suppression, racial violence, and economic exploitation. Historical artifacts and media, objects and stories that bring to life both the aspirations and the betrayals of the era. You'll also experience contemporary connections by seeing how the legacies of Reconstruction continue to shape civic life in America today. You'll experience reflective space where there is an engagement in dialogue about what it means to repair broken promises in our own time, and also visit the Mary Turner Memorial. And speaking of broken promises, we are here at the entrance of the Broken Promises Gallery, narrated by Ida B. Wells. Now, of all the exhibits here, I found the Broken Promises Gallery to be the most intriguing for me. Broken Promises asks a difficult question. What happens when a nation breaks its promises? General William Sherman, what happened to the 40 acres and a mule that was promised to newly freed slaves? Why did the Union fail to fully uphold its promise to protect and secure the rights of emancipated slaves from Southern white supremacist Jim Crow laws? Why? This gallery explores an often overlooked chapter in American history, the Reconstruction Era, when the hope of freedom after the Civil War gave way to violence, voter suppression, and systemic injustice. This exhibition reveals the recurring cycle of progress and backlash that has shaped our country. And we are all invited to reflect on how the unfulfilled promises of Reconstruction continue to resonate in the ongoing struggles for justice and equality today. Let's prepare to step inside.
You are entering a space that bears witness to the broken promises made to my people after the end of enslavement. You will see the enduring spirit of Black people, resolute in the face of injustice, cruelty, and mob terror. My name is Ida Barnett Wells. I am an educator and journalist and co-founder of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP. After a few of my friends were lynched in 1892, I began documenting the pattern of Black people being murdered by white folks, acts that were celebrated by white supremacists. And I expose those lies used to justify such savagery, including the myth that black men are a predatory threat. The real reason for these murders? White supremacists' fear of losing their social and economic power. With my fellow journalists from Wilmington, Atlanta, and Tulsa, we invite you to be present with the past. What you see may be difficult, but not nearly as difficult as what we endure to claim our place in this nation. Come, join me inside. For generations, those who opposed freeing black slaves argued that black people were predestined to be ruled by white people. In an effort to legally control us, they falsely claimed we didn't have the intelligence or ability to survive on our own. But that was never true. And as you can see, once blacks were emancipated after the Civil War, we quickly proved those white supremacists wrong. We proudly served in Congress and became scholars. In cities around the country, we built thriving communities with schools, churches, businesses, banks, and newspapers. I myself became the editor and co-owner of a newspaper, the Memphis Free Speech. Within a year, I doubled the paper's circulation and turned it into a profitable business, until a white mob destroyed our office. In response to an article I wrote calling for an end to lynching and the false narrative of black men being a threat to white women, they would have lynched me had I stayed.
One of the things that we find in this gallery is how historically black progress in America has been followed by white backlash. The Atlanta Race Massacre of 1906, the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921. These were a revolt against black success and prosperity. The catalysts that these white mobs used to carry out their savagery were white women. White women falsely accusing black men of assault. That's what destroyed black success in Atlanta in 1906, Tulsa prosperity in 1921. During Reconstruction, there were thousands of lynchings, and many of these lynchings were for sport, if you can imagine that. Regardless of your race, I highly recommend exploring this Broken Promises exhibit. It is gut-wrenching, and also because this is what history tries to hide, tries to bury about this country. I'm just going to allow you to take it all in. Here we have a historical marker memorializing the death of Mary Turner. And who was Mary Turner, you might ask? She was a 33-year-old black woman, 8 months pregnant, who was burned, mutilated, and shot to death by a white mob May 18, 1918 in Brooks County, Georgia, after publicly denouncing her husband's lynching the previous day. No one was ever convicted. Now, this marker was installed in 2010, and the Georgia Historical Society had to repeatedly replace it due to vandalism, following continuous bullet damage and destruction at the original site. Thankfully, this marker has found a permanent home here in this museum. Nearly 5,000 lynchings took place between Reconstruction Era and World War II. And it wasn't until the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act was signed into law by President Joe Biden on March 29, 2022, making it the first federal anti-lynching law in U.S. history, ending over 100 years of failed legislative attempts. Let that sink in. Ending over 100 years of failed legislative attempts. Let's check out this lower level. Before we go down there, let's take a look at this bust. This is Eleanor Roosevelt. I don't know if you can see with the glare there. Looks like it was donated here in 2019. Okay, so we are here downstairs. This looks like it has been turned into meeting and event space. This used to be where the Morehouse collection of Martin Luther King Jr. Gallery was before. We saw that they moved it upstairs on the first level. I wasn't able to take camera inside, but I did go visit. It is very informative. All right, we are here at the cafe and gift shop. And one thing that I noticed down this hallway after the fact and out those doors was the family gallery designed for children under 12. But maybe the next time. I'm just going to take a look around. We got t-shirts and books. And what I love here is they've got books that you're not going to normally find in like your Barnes and Noble. But I'm looking for my souvenir ink pen here. See these different books by African American authors. You got a cafe there. International authors as well. Okay, I've gotten my ink pen, so I'm just going to just show you around a little bit. This is the Far East wing. We've got the cafe here, and out these doors you've got the terrace. And I believe that this is the Arthur Blank Foundation Inspiration Hall, I believe it's called. But if you love reading, they do have a good selection of books, a lot of books. Pride, something for everyone. And that is about it. Okay, so that's going to wrap up today's video of the National Center for Civil and Human Rights. I hope that you have enjoyed the tour. You have enjoyed this presentation as much as I have. And I hope that you learned something and that it piqued your interest to discover even more, and that you will put it on your bucket list. Now, I will be back again next week with another video. On your way out, please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Click that notification bell to receive an alert each time I upload a new video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again next week. Take care. Bye-bye now.